if no one would get mad, if nothing would go wrong, if nothing bad would happen, if no one would think less of you, and you knew you could have it, what would you want?
So Chantelle, I'm wondering, why do teachers need financial peace, and why do we need new options as teachers?
Wow, gosh, if every teacher believed they could build wealth and then actually embodied the practices of building wealth, I think we would see a major shift of power in the classroom from the
Hmm.
state, from admin to the teacher. They would be respected as the experts that they are. They would
Right.
be revered as the teacher, and they would be empowered to then run their classroom how they want because they'd be at peace. That's what I think would happen. And that's why we need this.
So you think that kind of like what I think is a lot of teachers are in the business because they feel stuck in a business. It's like, so, they feel like they have to give in to the demands of the system. They feel like they have to give in to all the unpaid overtime and all that other stuff. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, I talk to teachers every day, and some of the big things that I hear that keeps them there is insurance and retirement. They do feel stuck. They feel like they cannot leave because of those things. And really that boils down to money, right?
It does, because a vast majority of teachers, they haven't gotten themselves into a position where they can walk away. You know, we may have a pretty good retirement and some things that come beyond that. And I think teachers should stay, but at the same time, I think that teachers ought to have the option, if they want to walk away today, they can walk away. What can teachers do to gain that option? What do they got to do?
There's so much you can do. I mean, I think that people who feel stuck need to really check themselves and look at where we live. Okay, this is the land of opportunity, right? And I think
Yes.
you're a lot closer to being financially free than you actually think. There are so many ways to build wealth, and you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to come up with a brand new idea. You don't have to be anyone else. You can translate what you're doing now, stay aligned with who you are, and you can build wealth while teaching or to step out of the classroom to do it.
Right. So I think teachers are perfect entrepreneurs. They have all the skills, they have the education, they have the ability to plan, they have the ability to create content every single day. I think about that, It doesn't take a whole lot of planning to create a TikTok that's, about a minute and 30 seconds long versus a lesson that has to be taught 52 minutes or 90 minutes if you're in a block. And so what do you think some of the financial stresses are that teachers face today? I mean, what's the hardships that are here?
Well, I mean, we earn so little. That's no secret. We are barely able to stay afloat. So
Mhm.
think about every single thing that's on your mind while you're teaching. You've got all this stress, but then in the back of your mind, we've got a mortgage to pay. We've got kids to raise. How am I going to pay for their college? How am I going to provide the opportunities that I want them to have, like soccer camp or, you know what I mean? But I've got house repairs. I've got car repairs because I'm driving an old beater because that's all I can afford. I can't even pay, some teachers are thinking I can't pay for my own health care, the medicines that I need, the food that I want. And because I'm hustling a second job, I am now too busy to exercise, right? So we've got all this financial stress, including
Absolutely.
retirement, in the back of our mind. And it's no wonder we feel burned out in the classroom thinking, dude, I can't deal with this right now. I have my own stuff to deal with. And we sort of start to check out. And we have to say to ourselves, I can't care. I can't care about this right now
Hmm.
because this is the priority, right? That's where we see burnout.
That's right. So, it's interesting that you're talking about, the financial things and the things that teachers do. One of the stats that I ran across some time ago is that over 22% of teachers already work a second job. So why shouldn't teachers then put their efforts towards building their own wealth versus building the wealth of somebody else just for a paycheck? Am I off track here, or is
I
that
mean, no, it's a great question. I think that when we see teachers try to have a side hustle, we often see them simply employ themselves with a second job rather than owning a business. So we got to wrap our minds around what that looks like, why it's so different. So the first thing to think about is owning a business is is not self-employment. There are two different things. So when I own a business, I'm creating systems, I'm creating mechanisms that build wealth, whether I'm there every second of it or not. So when I own a business, I'm not trading my time for the next dollar, right? When I'm self-employed, like let's say tutoring, where we see a lot of teachers go, you are literally trading your time for your dollar. And so we're taking more from our families, we're exhausting more energy. And this is
Hmm.
why we double down on burnout. So we can't do the latter. We've got to own a business and
Right.
create that mechanism of building wealth, both passively and direct income, I think are important.
So you mentioned the idea of systems. Now, I just want to clarify for our teachers maybe what you mean. So I have systems in place. I have automated systems that work for me. I have products that sell while I'm asleep or while I'm at school. I have different things set up. I have, you talk about passive income. YouTube is about as passive as it comes because you can literally create a single video on YouTube and make money off of it for the next 25 years or
Right.
more because if you create evergreen content. Is that what you mean by systems, or is there
I
something
mean,
else you
that's
mean?
one way, right? That's one way. There's a lot of ways that you can think about systems, but one way is this digital era of products there, courses there, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of where I started. I shifted, but also it could be platforms that also have products that aren't even yours. You don't have to create products, right? You
Right.
could look at more of an affiliate model.
Yep.
You can also build teams where people are duplicating what you're
Yes.
doing and you're pulling in some profits. Those are all different kinds of systems. And that's what you need to be looking at because then they're working for you. You are managing as the money's
Mhm.
rolling in. So, yes, you have to be a part of it, but it's not where you're trading every minute for your dollar. And then there's this other piece of complete passive. I mean, that's gold, right? Where you get to literally just collect. And
Mhm.
that's more like an investment type
That's
situation
right.
where I've put it in and I'm seeing returns and I'm doing almost nothing.
Hey, teachers, if we haven't met yet, my name is John, and this is Teacher Talk. And if we've provided any value for you up to this point, I want you to ask you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and follow along with our channel. Also, down in the description box, there's all kinds of free stuff down there for you, specifically for you and specifically for teachers, intended to help you restore joy to your classroom, one teacher at a time. Also, down in the description is Chantelle's socials and her bio. Check her out and catch up with her over on her socials. And now let's get back to the show. Right. I have known down through the years many teachers that were real estate investors. If there's ever anything that was actually passive, I guess it would be real estate. But a lot of teachers, I think they get complacent and they really believe that the retirement is going to be enough and don't necessarily consider what might come up in the future. So what are some reasons why you think teachers need financial peace sooner rather than later?
Well, yeah, listen, I grew up with two parents in the school system. I
Mhm.
watched us, you know, barely make it. And then we got to retirement and it wasn't enough. I watched my parents refinance their entire world to
Mm.
invest in real estate and supplement their retirement. And a light bulb went off like this might not be enough for me either. Medical expenses were the big surprise. We
Right.
need to be learning from those people who have stepped into that space and go, yeah, it's way more expensive than I thought. And I think it's really a misconception that people in state employment have a great retirement because even though an 11% match, which is what my state is
Right.
it sounds so great, and I do appreciate an 11% match. But when your income's this big, 11% is this big too, and
That's
it's
right.
not that
That's right.
much. So to give you an example, in 18 more years for me, my
Mhm.
retirement would be $3,400 a month. Now that's not enough now. Okay. That's
No.
certainly not enough in 18 more years. So why do I think that we need to be concerned about this? Because I know that it's not enough. I know it. You must have more efforts in more
That's
places to
right.
be bringing yourself an income, period. Or
Uh,
you're going to get to that end and you're going to regret it. and you're going to need to find something else to do till you're 80 and you'll be working the whole time.
You're absolutely correct. So one of the things that you said is that you said that teachers don't believe that they're capable of building real wealth. What is the mindset barrier that you think that we have as teachers?
Yeah. First of all, mindset is everything. When I ask teachers, hey, what's your earning target? Let's build you your business. Let's hit your target. I often get answers like $500 a month, or maybe I'd like an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month. And I'm always asking them, well, why so low? And their response is almost invariably, well, I want to be realistic. And then I just think that there is a fear in speaking out loud our true desires, which stops us before we even get started. It's not fair to us,
Right.
but we don't want to appear greedy, or worse, we have this fear of failure. So we protect ourselves from it before we ever even set the bar too high, right? Then there's this idea of like worthiness. When if
That is
you
excellent.
think that I can even attempt to build the life that I actually want, then there's this underlying assumption or this belief that I'm allowed to have that life of freedom, right? But so many people, they don't even let themselves dwell in possibility. They stay in probability, and that's where they get stuck. And the how to and the probability keeps them stuck.
Do you find it ironic that as teachers, a lot of times we're talking to students about having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and yet as teachers, when it comes to things outside the classroom, we really do have a fixed mindset. We don't have a growth mindset, and it goes kind of. I heard you say it a little bit right there. You're like, well, okay, $500 a month. Well, why don't you say $10,000 a month and then take a small step towards 10,000? How do we overcome that mindset? How do we, on the one hand, teach growth mindset, but yet find ourselves in a fixed mindset? What do we
Isn't
got to
that
do?
interesting? I mean, I find that when I'm teaching those life values to these kids in junior high, it's not just the growth mindset. It's all these values that I hear myself saying, and then I go, man, I needed that today, right? Because we're all just big kids learning
Yeah.
the same lessons, and the
Yes.
lessons don't change.
Over
But
and over.
yeah, you asked how. So this is one of the things that I did. The cost of building wealth really is shedding so much of your former identity, right? I did a lot of mindset work around desire and what I wanted. There was a moment where I could not pinpoint, I could not identify what I wanted. And that was eye-opening for me. And I went, I need to work on this. So one of the prompts that I used that you can use too as a journal entry, okay, was this idea, this question: if no one would get mad, if nothing would go wrong, if nothing bad would happen, if no one would think less of you, and you knew you could have it, what would you want?
Right.
And that helped me to start shedding some insecurities, some mind blocks, some limiting beliefs, some other people's expectations of me that I was allowing to hold me back.
Absolutely. What do you think? I heard you say the phrase limiting belief. What do you think is the teacher's number one limiting belief?
That they can, or that they deserve it. I think there's two. Probably the I am worthy, that they deserve it. I don't know why we put ourselves so low as servants, right? As beneath, and that, don't look at me. And I really feel, after working with more than 2,000 people, coaching them, that's what I hear the most is this fear of, I just don't think I'm worthy of that.
I agree with that. And I think that, sometimes is like a convoluted idea of being a servant, a public servant and a servant leader. It's the idea that we're supposed to be without, or we should have lack, or something along those lines. I don't think that's true at all. I can tell you the point in time for me is I decided that there were three things that I wanted. And I hope everybody is still hanging out to hear this. There's three things I wanted. Number one, I wanted time freedom. Time freedom. You see, I have to go to work every single day, right? I have to work the same hours. Actually, I have to work longer hours a lot of times because of my extra duties. I don't have the ability to say, you know what, I'm going to go do and I'm going to go work on X, Y, and Z today. I have to go between these hours. The second thing I wanted location freedom. I wanted to be able to work from anywhere that I wanted to work from. Right now, I got to go to the same school. I got to get in the car. I got to drive 35 miles one way and 35 miles the other way, right? Every single day. The third thing that I wanted an unlimited earning potential. Because as a teacher, I am capped. I'm 53 years old. I could teach, another 15 or 20 years. I will never make any more money than what I make right now unless
Right.
the governor of Florida says with his magic wand, you're going to pay teachers more. And then it turns into a big fight and you can't hardly get what he said anyway. I
Yep.
wanted those three things. Tell me, what does the teacher have to do to achieve those three things? I know I'm putting you on the spot. I don't mean to do
Yeah.
that. Tell us what we got to do.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned the one. Okay. I've got 4 things for you. Okay.
Okay,
I've
good.
got 4 things for you, and you can achieve every single one of those. The first one is mindset. We talked a lot about that, so I won't go into a ton about that, but I will say this, just check yourself. You talk to your kids or your students about, reach for the stars and you can go for it. And then what do? No, we limit ourselves and we don't
Absolutely.
even let ourselves say what we
Yeah.
actually want. So there's
Mhm.
that. But the second thing is opportunity. Third thing is mentorship. Fourth thing is strategy. Okay. Now let me talk about each one of those. I got a lot to say. Grab a notebook. Okay.
Yes.
Take notes.
Take off.
Okay.
I'm just gonna sit back and listen.
Okay, when you're thinking about opportunity, first of all, there's so many out there, right? What I'd love for you to do is not start from scratch and don't feel like you have to bring this new innovative idea, this brand new, unique something. Look, 85% of all businesses that start from scratch fail.
They do.
So why not follow a system that's already working? There's so many people that are already being successful. And that's what I would recommend, okay? And not just anything, but a plug and play, something that you can just start right off the bat and follow a system that's already bringing in wealth. Okay.
Mhm.
Another thing, the greatest power to earn lies in some partnerships. So
Absolutely.
you don't have to go this alone. And I mean, you and I, this is an example of one, this is
Mhm.
mutually beneficial for both of us. These
Yes.
partnerships are so important. But when you're looking, I have several bullet points that I would like you to consider. If you're partnering with a company, not just a person to work with, but
Mhm.
a company, and you're going to utilize this vehicle to build wealth, I want you to ask yourself, are they debt free? Okay. We're looking at stability and longevity. If you want a career long opportunity, right? Do they
Mhm.
outsource or are they completely self sustained? Are they global or are they local? Why wouldn't you go global with digital era? Like, why not?
Yeah, go big or go home, right?
Right. I want you to think about, does this company solve real world problems? Because if
Mhm.
it doesn't, that's where you're going to feel out of alignment and scammy. It's got to solve some real problems for you to feel good. And then let's talk about investment. Sometimes there's going to
Mhm.
be this investment of time or money,
Right.
and so many people get hung up on this part. It is the wrong question to be asking. Okay. If you can leverage and overcome this investment piece, that's not the problem. The real question is the ROI. I want you to
Mhm.
think about, how quickly can I get a return on that investment and how much money can I make?
Right.
That's the real question. Do not get hung up on the investment. Stay open to those possibilities. I often tell people, like, if I gave you a Ferrari and charged you $100, that investment you wouldn't even think, because you could turn it over
That's right.
for way more money. It's not about the investment. It's about the ROI. Okay. And then of course, what you talked about, what's the kind of flexibility in time and location?
Mhm.
Then I want you to think about the pay. Is the pay
Mhm.
high enough for my time? Right? That's the whole point of business. Do not get caught up in, well, I hate to say this, but I see so many teachers create things and accept like $1, for profit for one transaction. And
You're
I'm
right.
saying think big. I want you
You
thinking big.
you are 100% right.
You know what I mean?
I know there's such hype around teacher pay teacher. I don't do teacher pay teacher or Etsy or Shopify or any of those. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they absolutely steal your money. The only people making money are Etsy and Shopify and teacher pay teacher. And so
Yep.
from my perspective, I thought to myself, why can't I just cut out the middleman? All right. Does it take a little extra effort on my end? Yeah, it does. But that's nothing more than what I've told students is that, hey, if you can make it, if you want to, I'm an educator. I tell students all the time, you don't need to go to college. What you need to do, all right, is get yourself a plan and a strategy and get next to 5 people that know what they're doing and have already proven that they're successful and get on their coattails and go. Why can't teachers do that too?
Right? I love that you said that because that's the perfect segue into that third piece, that mentorship that I was talking about.
Absolutely.
Right? Get yourself a mentor. Learn
Hmm.
from somebody who is already experiencing the
Hmm.
results that you want.
That's
Okay.
right.
And then ask yourself, how much access do I actually have to this person? What
Hmm.
I see people do is get a mentor, and then the mentor essentially hands them a course or, let's say, a textbook at school and
Hmm.
expects the student to implement every information in that textbook. That's not how our students learn. That's not how we learn. You need guidance. You need a little
Hmm.
hand holding in the beginning. And I would expect that from my mentor. So really look into that.
I find the mentoring piece to be the mentoring coaching section to be extraordinarily important. I remember when my kids were in the 5th grade, they were safety patrols and they got to go to Washington, D.C., and we got to go on the trip. And I remember we stopped off in historic Williamsburg, right? It was a great
Hmm.
place. And we were going around and they were telling these stories that whenever young boys turned 12, they'd go work with the blacksmith or the pharmacist or the
Right.
lawyer or
As
the
an
banker.
apprentice.
They were apprentice and they learned the job working for somebody that already knew how to do the job. It surprised me. I read John Adams's biography. He didn't go to college to be a lawyer. He worked with a lawyer to become a lawyer.
Right.
Somehow we've turned our kids into thinking that they have to run off, end up like a teacher, which is about $50,000 worth of school debt, and then take a job that pays $44,000.
Right.
That's ridiculous to me.
It is
I
ridiculous.
Yep. Sorry,
And
I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're all right. Well, it reminds me of reading a book in 5th grade with my students. We read Johnny Tremaine, right?
Mm,
And they themselves came up with this question of like, why don't we do that? He was an apprentice, right? And they're like,
mhm,
why are we going to college? That would be awesome, And I thought, yeah, these kids, they're thinking.
mhm.
But the last part of those 4 pieces I was going to talk about is strategy. Look, I don't care what opportunity you have or the
Right,
mentorship or the mindset. Even if you have all of those, it's a high earning opportunity. You've got a mentor, you've got the mindset. If you
right,
don't also have strategy, every
right,
opportunity is going to fall flat. So
right,
you want to know that your mentor not only has your best interest in mind, but they also have a proven system, meaning they're not just bringing in profits, but they're leading the industry.
mhm,
I don't want to see that my mentor has made some money. I want to see that they're at the top of whatever they're doing, and I want to learn
right,
from them.
right. It's very interesting what you just said. So you do need a mentor, you do need coaching, but you got to be very careful who you choose. I think about college football and I think about Nick Saban. Nick Saban's not just a winner. He's a winner at Alabama, but look at how many other coaches he trained and they are now winners in their programs. That's exactly what you're trying to get across, right? Is to
Absolutely.
find a winner that has made winners.
Yes. And this is another idea for you to wrap your mind around. Once you hone in on that and you're successful, I'm just going to throw an example out here. Let's say you are the best dog groomer in
Mhm.
all of California and
Right?
you know it and you are so successful. Why wouldn't you sort of franchise yourself and
Hmm.
train others to be that good. Number one, you're lifting others. Number two, you've just created another massive income stream for yourself. And
You
why
do.
not? That's what we do. We want to give back and we want to make money. It's perfect.
So you made an extraordinarily good point right there, because sometimes folks get caught off or get off track and they think, oh, well, all they're talking about is money. Well, first of all, that is certainly the outcome. The actual work is helping people, right? Is helping people get from point A to point B.
That's right.
And it is the essential part. If all you do is chase a dollar, people will sniff that out in a hurry, and they won't get on your coattails at all. Again, I go back to Nick Saban. Nick Saban didn't say, I'm not going to teach him this so that I don't want him to beat me later. Nick Saban
Right.
taught his coaches everything and then challenged them to come back and beat them, right?
Right.
So we don't have to worry about if we lift somebody else up, then that somehow is going to diminish us, because it won't. It
Right.
actually lifts us up as well, because it tells other people, hey, this guy or this gal, he or she knows how to get this job done. And that's where I'm going.
That's right. Every business has to have a transaction of money.
That's
Right? I
right.
mean, that's the whole point. We've got to
That's right.
exchange money, but this is where educators get so stuck. They're always telling me, like, I'm not a salesperson, but there has to be a transaction here of either a product or service. So
Mm-hmm.
I help teachers see how they can utilize that product or service as
Mm-hmm.
leverage, as
Right.
the vehicle to build wealth, but through the embodiment of
Mm-hmm.
education, not making sales. Like we are leading people to solutions that
Right.
they ask for through service and
Right.
through education. And that feels aligned with our skills and with our values.
Sure. Absolutely. So we're talking about this mindset and limiting beliefs, and I don't know, we've gone off on all these rabbit trails, which is kind of fun, by the way. But how did you personally break through limiting beliefs? I know that I still struggle with them, but how did you do that, and how can our teachers break through it?
Well, I will say, short answer, I did a lot of mindset work, meaning I was on podcasts every time I got a chance. I was journaling a
Hmm.
lot. I was reading every book I could get my hands on. Some that really, really mattered to me. Brene Brown comes to mind, Daring Greatly. That was life changing for me.
Hmm.
And you've got to get in that space where you dive in and you do the work of mindset, because you can't just switch it. It's not like
No.
someone says, "Oh, believe in yourself," and you're like,
Right.
"Okay," and now you do.
Right.
No, you have to really challenge your mindset and open up new pathways for you to think and digest information, for you to actually shift your mindset. So I would encourage anyone to start there. Get on some podcasts, get on some journaling, read some books.
Absolutely. I listen to I don't know how many podcasts I listen to and read as well. 66% of teachers say that if they had another opportunity that they would leave the teaching field. Now, I don't think teachers ought to leave per se, because it is a stream of income. So let me ask you this question. How did teaching prepare you to do what you're doing today? How did it prepare you for entrepreneurship?
Well, that's a great question. Like you think teachers are set up to be business people, and it's proven that the
Mhm.
people that I coach, we have so many teachers being incredibly successful, not only teachers, principals, admin, being
Mhm.
incredibly successful in business. And this
Mhm.
is this is why education for me, number one, those systems, those procedures, that formative and summative assessment, all this organizational tool, I mean, that
Right.
sets us up. But I think the bigger piece is this servant heart, this ability for us to read people, our love for
Mhm.
seeing potential in humans and helping them cultivate that. That's priceless. And we actually have a leg up on business people because that's where we thrive. And do not tell me that business is not personal. It's all about people. And
Absolutely.
if we can come at it from that position, that's why we are so successful, because we know people, we love people, and we
Mhm.
solve problems for people.
So you've spent 13 years in a Title One school district. I'm also in a Title One school district,
Mm.
and I can see poverty with my eyeballs. I can actually see it. How do you think, and you're a music teacher, how do you speak to your students about the opportunities that they have? Do you incorporate your entrepreneurial spirit and try to lend that same spirit to them, or is it off limits?
Oh, 100%. I absolutely talk about
Mm,
every opportunity to earn. There is no one way to wealth. And I know in Title I school, like these kids, they have so many stories that I
yeah.
am just blown away with the
Yep.
struggles that they go through. And I watch them come and show up for themselves
Hmm.
every day, and the
Hmm.
resilience is incredible. And so, but I know that college is not the path for most of them. And so we talk all kinds of opportunity. We talk about how to implement what we're doing. And this is my purpose for education. I tell them
Hmm.
all, your number one job when they ask, why are we learning? Why do we have to go to school? I
Right.
say, well, number one, you want to become self sustained, right? You
Hmm.
need to grow the skills to be able to take care of yourself, right? Do you want a car? Do you want a cell phone? Like you've got to get to that place. But
Hmm.
number two, and this is the big kicker, is our education is for service. We want to
That's right.
turn around and contribute, take care of someone else.
Hmm.
I don't care what industry you're in. You need to find a way to serve someone else with
We
what
have to
you've
serve
learned.
people.
Yeah.
You're 100% right.
And that's the way I talk to them.
Okay, so this is exactly why I think teachers should not leave the classroom in part, is because of the profound impact that you can have beyond math, science, ELA, music. All those things are very important. I sat in a parent meeting yesterday and I was looking at a young man. He's struggling. He's middle school. He's 13 years old. And I just looked at him. I said, I could care less whether you learn math or pass your ELA test. Everybody else in here does. I'm the dean of students. I'm trying to make a man.
Right.
I'm trying to help a young boy turn into a man. It is extraordinarily important to have teachers in the classroom who are also capable of demonstrating that this 9 to 5 or whatever it is that we work nowadays, that's not the end. It's not even the goal. I think it's a perfectly good investment for 20 years to draw a retirement from, for sure, but it's not all that there is
Right.
it? Yes.
Absolutely. I love
Yes.
that you said that because I see the same thing. We see these kids who are struggling and it's not about memorizing the quadratic equation. It
Hmm.
it is about becoming a human that feels good about themselves, that knows themselves and can turn around and be so full. Their cup is so full that they can now pour from that
Right.
and turn around and help others. I feel blessed in the music room too, since I've moved from the general education into more of a, um, oh, what do you call it? Elective. Um,
Mm.
I feel so blessed to be able to really focus on character. And yeah, I view my classroom as character building way more than music learning, even though that's what we're doing. It's all about who we are becoming.
Mhm.
And so I agree. I love that teachers who are in there to leave impact are in there. And I don't want them to leave either. This is why I want teachers to be financially set up and free so they can have the peace of mind in the back of their mind going, I don't have to be here. I get to be here and I get to choose what I do next. You cannot believe the peace that it brings when you run across difficult situations in your classroom, which we all do, and you're able to separate yourself and go, I don't have to be here. I'm not trapped. So what do I want to do?
Mhm.
And that kind of power is what I want for every single teacher. And for me, that comes with money.
Absolutely. That is the same choice I wanted to make. Teacher Talk, we deal with teacher burnout and we help teachers through burnout through various things, coaching or, video driven curriculum and stuff of that nature. However, it was about 3 years ago whenever I woke up, my face was paralyzed. I thought I had a stroke. It wasn't a
Wow.
stroke. It was stress related. Bell's palsy. And my doctor said, man, if you don't do something about your stress is going to do something about you. And that's how Teacher Talk came about. But you know what? 3 years ago, I would have loved to have been able to take a year off to rest, but I couldn't.
Right.
Financially couldn't. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of teachers reach a point of burnout because teaching is hard. It's emotionally hard, it's spiritually hard, it's mentally hard, and it's physically hard. So much so that teachers burn out at a rate of 15 percentage points higher than law enforcement, nurses, and social workers.
Isn't that
It's
nuts?
that prevalent. And what it wouldn't be like to be able to take a year's leave of absence just to recover and have the money to do it and not even have to worry about it. Isn't that what we want for teachers?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I want that for every teacher. I had the same, well, a moment crying in a paper room. It was
Mm,
a closet where we gathered our paper for projects. And I was
mhm.
crying during my prep, and I realized I was under that same level of stress. Just it wasn't a physical issue. It was emotional, and
Right.
I knew I needed the time. And I there was another moment where I did realize I need an exit plan, and
Mhm,
I asked my district if I could take a year sabbatical to build and
mhm.
then come back, and the answer was no. So I had to find a way to do it while teaching, and you guys, this is totally doable. I have built a multi seven-figure business while teaching with children at home over
Yes.
the last 2 years. It is absolutely possible, even
Mhm.
though we would like the year off. If you can't, it still is possible.
So I want to ask the big question that might be lingering. If a teacher is already on the verge of burnout, how are they going to add this extra time and effort
I
to
see
not further the burnout? How will they do that?
I see what you're saying, and this is a big question when they come to
Mhm.
me. A lot of them say, "I don't have time. I don't have time."
Right.
But you
Absolutely.
do. You do have time. And this is what I would say. First of all, I want you to check your fears, check your priorities. For me, I had to say, okay, I'm afraid I'm going to be stuck here for the next 18 years.
Mhm.
I'm also afraid I won't have enough in retirement.
Right.
And I'm also afraid of, right. And then I'm also afraid over here that I'm not going to have enough time, that I'm going to, maybe my husband or my kids or my coworkers will respond in a certain way. And I started playing around with insecurities and fears about really controlling other people's behavior and emotions, right? So, which was going to stop me from starting. And I had to weigh those 2, and I had to go, "Yep, this one's bigger." I am more afraid of being stuck. I am more afraid of not having enough in retirement than I am of XYZ. And so that's the first place. Then the other big thing is you've got to stay aligned with who you are. I think a huge part of burnout comes where you feel out of control. You
Mhm.
feel out of your own body. You feel under someone else's thumb. And if you can start a business and stay aligned with your values and who you are, it's kind of like it gives you energy. Okay. Think about exercise. I don't know if this is a good example for everyone, but I hate lifting weights. So when I go to the
Me
gym,
too.
I'm going to burn out quick. Okay.
Right.
But I love hiking and I love
Mhm.
kayaking and I love biking. And so when I do something that's aligned with me that I
Yeah.
actually love, it
Yep.
gives me more energy. I'm leaping onto the bike to exercise because I love it. See what I'm saying? So if you
Mhm.
can find a way to work like that in your second business, then
Mhm.
you are going to be able to avoid burnout. And then the last thing I just want to say, you've got to compartmentalize. You've got to be really good at boundaries, time blocking. So, and then building those systems we talked about that are generating over here so that
Mhm.
you're not spending every moment earning the money.
So, the thing that happened to me is, like God in his grace in the midst of my worst moments, it was actually a year after my face went paralyzed because I got worse. My face finally moved again, but I got worse.
Wow.
And in his grace, he gave me this hobby of refurbishing furniture. I've never refurbished furniture a day in my life. I have no
Wow.
creativity, none, zero. And you know what happened? I turned that into a regional business. I was just goofing off and finishing. I looked at some YouTube videos. However, in the process of that hobby, it absolutely enabled me to think. It cleared my mind. It reduced my stress, right? Because I loved it. And it led to this that actually started as a hobby too. So do I spend time doing this? Yes, I do, but I love it. So
Right?
it does not burn me out. I
That's the
show up
thing.
here. I show up here every day in my studio. I record something. I still work on furniture. I still sell all those things. All of a sudden, all the things that I didn't have time for, I have time for.
Yeah.
And I love them, and I'm healthier as a human being because of those.
Yeah.
So Chantelle, as we try to land the plane and we don't bore all of education to death, I'm wondering a couple of things. Number one, how can people connect with you? How can they reach out to you?
Great question. Social media is where you're going to see me mostly. I will never miss a message on Facebook, a direct
Mm-hmm.
message.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Instagram too. Email works as well, but
Yep.
that's kind of where I live and where I run things. So I would love to hear from any teacher who's really wanting a plug and play system. If you don't have a system or an opportunity that you're aware of, I'll give you mine, and I take the
Right.
time to always ask a few questions to get a feel for how can
Mm-hmm.
I help you best? And then I show everyone, the blueprint that I've created that is how exactly I'm earning my money
Right.
and see if it's a good fit for you.
So just so that everybody knows, all of those socials and her contact information, Chantelle's contact information, it's all in the description. So jump down there and get it and reach out to her and let's get started with her. So before we go, I want you to imagine that you're sitting across the table of a teacher, or maybe you're in a classroom and the teacher sharing with you her struggles, her struggles and their burnout and their need to do something more, to do something extra. I want you to speak directly at them and encourage every teacher in America right now.
Yeah. Okay. I want to tell you that you, first of all, are worthy and you are capable of building an empire for yourself and your family right now, today, just the way you are. Nothing has to change. Literally nothing is stopping you from starting that journey except yourself. And you don't have to do it alone or start from scratch. We live in the most abundant time ever, and the opportunities to build wealth are out there, and it's your turn to take advantage of them.
It absolutely is. It is your turn to step up and go and do what you always wanted to do. Chantelle, it has been super great, and we want to thank you for jumping in, and we want to say to our teachers to stay strong and keep teaching.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.